Hey there, I'm Avip. Welcome to the audiobook of my fanfic, Muitiverse Crafter. I don't own RWBY or any of its characters. This is a nonprofit fan project made just for fun and shared for free. All rights belong to their original creators. Before we start, I want to let you know that since I'm not fluent in speaking English yet, the narration is AI generated. I hope you still enjoy the story and the world I've created. Thanks for listening.
Chapter 1. Make a Better World. Point of View, Jaune Arc. I opened my eyes as soon as we landed. Although I never had motion sickness problems in my previous life, the reality of this body is different. At least meditating with my eyes closed prevents me from vomiting in the middle of the aircraft. As soon as I breathe the fresh air outside, I start to feel better, but I can't enjoy the moment of tranquility because an explosion catches my attention. This is my cue. I ran towards the gothic girl with red streaks lying on the ground, relieved to see that I hadn't missed my introduction to the canon. "Welcome to Beacon," muttered the girl, lying on the ground. There she was, the protagonist of RWBY, Ruby Rose, and she is beautiful, with a unique gothic style in red and black. Her short black hair with red tips contrasts with her pale skin, highlighting her silver eyes. But despite being beautiful, I'm not interested in getting involved with her. "Hey, are you okay?" I asked, extending my hand to the girl. "My name is John. Point of View, Ruby Rose." "Ruby," I replied, accepting the hand of the blonde boy with blue eyes. John looked like a typical 17-year-old teenager, and despite carrying a red and blue shield on his back, he didn't seem to have the muscular mass of a trainee hunter. "Wait," I exclaimed, examining him more closely. "You're the boy who was sleeping sitting on the transport, right?" With a serious expression, he nodded his head. "I was circulating my aura while meditating. I need to do that whenever I travel. Otherwise, I get nauseous." Wow, that sounds like advanced aura training. Maybe his fighting style is focused on his semblance rather than his body. It's something I learned from some aura theory books. Wow, my Uncle Crow said I was still too young for advanced aura training like that, so I didn't even try. "You were trained by your uncle?" "Yes, he and my father were teachers at Signal, the preparatory school I attended." He replied, murmuring. Why is he grumbling? Is he already bored? But how? We've been talking for less than 5 minutes. Think, Ruby, try to talk about something interesting. "So, I have this." "Ha. Nothing is more anti-boredom than my baby crescent rose." "Wow, is that a scythe and a high-precision rifle?" John said, examining my creation. "A combination for close combat and long-range fighting, an excellent mecha-shift weapon from what I can tell." "Yes, it worked. And what do you have there?" I asked, looking at the circular shield on his back. In response, he opens his coat, revealing a simple 9mm pistol and a knife. These two are common weapons, a hunting knife and a pistol, but I see you're interested in my shield. Pulling it from his back, I get a better look at the shield. It's round, a perfect circle, painted with 2 red stripes, 1 white stripe, and in the center, it has a blue sphere with a white 5-pointed star in the middle, and nothing else? No complex mechanisms, no folds, just a shield with a buckle to attach it to the arm? Simple, right? Embarrassed, I took a step back. Was my disappointment that obvious? The first person who talks to me at Beacon, and I've already been rude to him? No, it's just that I need an excuse. I just find this combination of shield, pistol, and knife unique. "Ha. I did well." He smiles at me, but I turn my face to the side, feeling embarrassed. This shield may not look like much, but it's practically indestructible. I froze for a second. Did I hear that right? "You said indestructible?" "Yes," replied the blonde boy with a proud smile on his face. "Impossible," I exclaimed, disbelieving. 100% true. But what if someone shoots it with anti-tank ammunition? Nothing will happen. A shot from an anti-aircraft battery? Maybe it'll scratch the paint. And dust effects like fire, ice, and electricity. At most, it'll get dirty. I lean over the shield, tapping it with my fist, trying to guess its material. "Please, tell me what it's made of." "Okay, girl, I'll tell you later. Just stop drooling over it, please. Drooling? Oh my, he's right. I've been drooling over it. Jumping back, I try to apologize again, but John says it's no big deal. It's all right, Ruby. I know you didn't mean any harm. Despite me acting weird, he didn't seem bothered. But I want to know where we are.
Huh?
Looking around, I noticed that we've been wandering aimlessly and ended up near a garden with an artificial lake. I was following you. John stares at me, raising an eyebrow. Don't judge me. I don't judge anyone.
Phew.
Out loud. Darn it. He laughs, shaking his head. Follow me. Everything's fine. Crater face. Okay.
Wait.
Did you just call me what? Point of view. Professor Ashbin. It's truly intriguing how the start of the Beacon school year still manages to fill me with hope. I thought aloud. After my speech, Professor Goodwitch and I met in the elevator that provides access to my office. In what sense, Professor? My vice asked. After 80 years of training Remnant's protectors, any normal person would assume a certain degree of apathy would be present. I replied, sighing, to Professor Goodwitch. But no, every passing year I still have hope in the new generation, especially this year with a silver-eyed warrior among the freshmen, perhaps the last one on the planet. With an arched eyebrow, the professor questioned me. You have great faith in this young woman because she's Summer's daughter? Silver eyes are notorious in the fight against the Grimm. With a few years of training, Miss Rose could be capable of reclaiming Mount Glen. Reclaiming Glen would erase the kingdom's biggest defeat against her. We would have an outpost connected to the capital by an underground transportation system, and the increased morale of Vale's population would keep the Grimm at bay for months, if not years. My optimistic thoughts were interrupted by a shocking scene when the elevator door opened, revealing my office with a young man sitting in my chair, with his feet propped up on something metallic on my desk. You have 5 seconds to explain yourself, young man, Glinda threatened, pointing her weapon, the disciplinarian, at the boy. The young man with blonde hair and blue eyes stared at Goodwitch without flinching and replied, I apologize for putting my feet on your desk. I was just bored and used my shield to keep it clean. Does he think we're concerned about him dirtying the desk? That should be the least of your concerns. I don't recognize you, so you must be one of the initiates, right? He answered, nodding his head. Consider yourself eliminated and consider yourself lucky not to leave here in handcuffs, boy. He smiled and looked in my direction. Brave and loyal? Was he talking to me? That's why you have her as your second in command, huh, Ozma? The boy responded in a cynical tone, looking me in the eyes. Glinda continued with her lectures and threats, but I didn't pay attention to them because in front of me was someone who knew the name of my first incarnation. The mysterious young man kept smiling at me as if he hadn't just blurted out one of my best-kept secrets. Professor Goodwitch, I exclaimed aloud. Glinda paused in the middle of her lecture and looked at me in surprise. This was the kind of thing she dealt with when it came to a student misbehaving, but this was no ordinary student. I just remembered that I have an appointment with this young man. If he were an agent of Salem, he would have already attacked us. Apologies for my lateness. Once Professor Goodwitch leaves, we can begin. Despite my suspicion, Glinda was loyal enough to follow orders without questioning. Don't even think about it. You Dumbledore with a scarf. Dumble who? I tried to question the comparison, but the young man simply kept talking. She stays. The mysterious young man pointed his finger at Glinda. May I know why you're arguing about my presence without even considering my opinion? The boy got up from my chair and placed a knife and a pistol on the table. I came here to help you, Ozma. He walked towards us. But Glinda needs to know. What do I need to know? Glinda asked, sounding unsure. Everything that Ashbin didn't tell you about the secret war. Why Salem wants the relics, his relationship with the Grim Queen, the gods, and my favorite part. He cleared his throat before continuing. Salem cannot be killed. Point of view. Glinda Goodwitch. It can't be true. The secret war we fight for humanity is just a lover's quarrel? If the relics are brought together, they will summon the gods who will judge us, and given the current state of Remnant, we will all be destroyed. And worst of all, even if we manage to invade Salem's castle, it will be futile because the Grim Queen is immortal. Not a limited immortality like Ashbin's reincarnation, but a true immortality that rebuilds flesh and bone regardless of the injury suffered. I know it's a lot to absorb all at once, Professor Goodwitch, but it's important that you know. The young man's voice carried compassion, while Ashbin stared at him with icy fury. I always thought that Ashbin could have more secrets, but nothing this impactful. Forgive me for not sharing this information with you, Glinda, but Salem's immortality has caused. The professor took a deep breath, his gaze filled with sorrow. I've been betrayed countless times because of it. It made sense. His enemy was an immortal witch with an army of monsters at her disposal. It's evident that many would despair upon receiving this news, and betraying her greatest enemy could earn them favor with the Grim Queen. But Glinda is different. I looked in the direction of Jaune Arc, now identified. I know Crow is your best field agent and one of the best fighters in all Remnant. He pointed in my direction. But when it comes to integrity, loyalty, commitment, intelligence, and above all competence, there is no one better on this damn planet than Glinda Goodwitch. I blushed and felt a little embarrassed by the compliments the boy gave me. I appreciate the kind words, Mr. Arc, but still, what gives you the right to reveal Professor Ashbin's secrets? Look at this, Ozma. I just revealed your dirty laundry to her, and her first reaction is to defend you. The boy laughed out loud, as if he had heard the most absurd thing in the world. You really don't deserve her. The redness in my face became more apparent, and I decided to stay silent to try to center myself again. While I agree with you, sir, regarding Miss Goodwitch's qualities, she is right. The professor of Beacon approached the young man, taking firm steps, looking down at John. Ashbin asked with a heavy voice, "For what reason did you reveal my greatest secrets? How did you come to possess that knowledge? And how can we trust someone who appears out of nowhere, sowing intrigue and discord within my inner circle?" It's rare to see the professor get straight to the point. He usually prefers to tell a story and draw a parallel between the situation and a tale or one of his experiences, but this boy stripped him of his deepest secrets and put him on the defensive. Smiling, the young Arc replied, "I'll make you a proposition." John walked over to the table and picked up his weapons and shield. "I have nothing with me, no money, scroll, clothes, not even food." Strange. How can someone with so much information be so unprepared? All I have with me are my weapons and the clothes I'm wearing. In fact, I'm not even a candidate for Beacon Academy. You didn't attend a preparatory school? The professor asked. No, I had an accident a few months ago, and my aura was awakened by my mother as a way to save my life. That caught my attention. Months. You've only had your aura for a few months? That means you have no training as an apprentice hunter. He nodded affirmatively. I have some aura training thanks to some books I read in libraries and bookstores before getting kicked out for reading without paying. And how does that relate to your proposition, Mr. Arc? Oh, right. I almost forgot. How can someone just forget something in a conversation about the fate of humans and faunus? You're going to let me participate in the initiation, give me a monthly allowance to cover my expenses, and Glinda will give me private lessons on aura control. Private lessons with me? Why would we do that, Mr. Arc? Because I'm on your side, because I have a semblance that can turn the tide of the war against your ex, and because if you accept this, I'll tell you who the 3 people were that attacked Amber, the Fall Maiden. A deathly silence filled the room. Tension hung in the air and could be cut with a knife. You know who attacked her? The professor asked incredulously. John smiled and raised 3 fingers. There were 3 people. I know their names, appearance, and their semblances. Pausing dramatically, John clenched his fist and looked deep into Ashbin's eyes. And most importantly, I know when and how they will come to Beacon to take the rest of the Fall Maiden's power. You're a deserter of Salem? I blurted out without thinking. Is that why you know so much? He shook his head. I've never been one of her servants. He swallowed hard, thinking deeply before continuing. As for how I know this information, I'll tell you on another occasion. Verify if my information about your enemies is correct, then I'll tell you my story. Without thinking, Ashbin reached out his hand, and John shook it. Get a pen, Glinda. Beacon has just gained another candidate. The professor was apprehensive, but at least he was still hopeful.
Point of view. Jaune Arc.
Finally, a decent bed. I muttered quietly to no one in particular. Being alone in an isolated room, I could finally get some good rest for the initiation tomorrow. This room, scroll, and 10,000 lean were a small gesture of gratitude from Ashbin for helping deal with so many nuisances. We spent 2 hours ironing out the details to handle Cinder's team, Leonardo Lionheart's betrayal, and the hacking of the CCT. Glinda wanted to tackle the problems head-on as quickly as possible with 3 teams of experienced hunters, but with Ashbin's help, we managed to convince her that it's better to proceed with caution. I start tossing and turning in bed, trying to find a comfortable position. The mattress was good, but the pillow was thin, like a folded sheet. I won't be able to sleep like this. I shouldn't abuse my semblance, but I need a good night's sleep, and it's already late. MCS on. Multiverse crafting system. What would you like to make? Magic, 14 points. Aura, 100%. I look at the floating screen in front of me, and it finally dawns on me. My semblance is similar to the gamer's. How did I never realize this before? Of course, it's not as powerful as his. It only allows me to create items using aura or magic. Even though I may have reincarnated in Jaune Arc's body, I'm still the absent-minded, scatterbrained person with ADHD. MCS, make a memory foam pillow. Multiverse crafting system. Which resource would you like to use? Magic, 14 points. Aura, 100%. If I use aura, it won't last forever. It will probably disappear as soon as I fall asleep. Now, if I use magic, it will last forever, but I don't replenish those points in the same way I replenish aura. I need to consume dust to gain magic points. I look at my shield leaning against the wall. To make Captain America's shield, I had to spend the money John had set aside to buy fake documents and everything else the boy had. Comics, computer, scroll, video games, books, and even furniture. MCS, use aura. In a golden mist of energy, a pillow materializes. Multiverse crafting system. What would you like to make? Magic, 14 points. Aura, 99, 7%. Did it only cost that much? If I had used magic, it would have cost 3 or even 4 points. As soon as I rest my head on the pillow, my body relaxes. MCS off. The window closes, and I fall asleep hopeful that breakfast will be good. Chapter 2. Why don't I shut up? Point of view. Jaune Arc. The sound of knocks on the door wakes me up the next morning. I was so tired yesterday that I slept in the same clothes. Not that I had any other clothes to change into, but as a result, I was really stinking on this sunny morning. Should I use my magic points to make clothes? If I use aura, will I have to keep spending aura all day to maintain them? My concentration is broken when I hear knocks on the door again. As soon as I open the door, I come face to face with Glinda Goodwitch. Good morning, Glinda. In response, she frowned and stared at me sternly. Damn, what did I do? I just said, good morning. Mr. Arc, she said in a serious tone. Although I consider you a member of Professor Ashbin's inner circle, thus in addition to the secret group that protects Remnant, I would like you to treat me with the respect that every Beacon student should show to any member of the Academy's faculty. Sorry, GLY-. A dry cough from the teacher interrupts me in time to correct my mistake. Sorry, Professor Goodwitch. She closes her eyes and smiles serenely, pleased with my new attitude. Apologies accepted, Mr. Arc. She hands me a bag full of clothes. I need to maintain my posture as an educator in your presence. Otherwise, I might develop some behavioral addiction that could provide fuel for gossip among nosy students. Thank you for the clothes. That calms me down. I thought I had already made a bad impression. And don't worry about being tough on me when disciplining me. I'm glad to know that you are more mature than I thought. She expresses satisfaction with my response. It's fine. I even like it when you yell and humiliate me in front of others. No, I meant that dash.
Fuck. Fuck. Fuck.
It's not that I'm into you, but it doesn't mean you're not beautiful. It's just that dash. Oh my God. Why don't I shut up? It's just that. Damn it, I have to stop talking before I say something weird. I'm a bit masochistic, you know. Why don't I shut up? Professor Goodwitch closes her eyes, then opens them, having regained her posture as an educator. I have the impression that you have trouble controlling your tongue, Mr. Arc.
Ouch.
Yes, actually, I have attention deficit disorder. One of the characteristics is that I'm impulsive in my superficial thoughts. She stares at me for a few seconds. I see. And here I was thinking I would be the hero of the story, who would save everyone and maybe have a harem. I'm sorry. I mumble, looking down. She looks at me with an arched eyebrow, suspicious of my behavior. Take a shower and change your clothes before you go to initiation, Mr. Arc. You stink. The door slams shut in my face. In the bag of clothes, I found 2 white shirts, 1 pair of jeans, underwear, and socks. Phew, I'll save some magic points. I take a shower, change clothes, and have my breakfast in record time. After all, I would rather not be late for my introduction to the 2 most influential girls of the first year. So, Pyrrha, have you thought about which team you'd like to be on? An enthusiastic female voice said. There they are. In the unisex locker room, I find 2 teenage girls, one small and completely white, and the other tall in red and gold. I'm sure everyone would like to team up with such a strong and well-known individual like you. The girl's voice was pleasant but somewhat fake, as if she were a salesperson trying to trick someone. Weiss is pale skin, long white hair, and striking blue eyes. She is wearing the iconic white dress with a high collar, accompanied by a bolero-style jacket, a skirt, and knee-high boots. Resting on her side is the rapier, Murdenaster, a weapon capable of using dust to unleash various elemental attacks. I don't know, Pyrrha replied. Actually, I was planning to leave it up to luck. Pyrrha has fair skin, long red hair, and expressive green eyes. She is wearing her combat attire, which consists of a golden and red armor with a tiara. In addition, she carries a spear and a shield named Milo and a Koho, her weapons of choice. I would rather not do this. I would rather not act like an asshole, but I need to get closer to Pyrrha. I was thinking if we could be on the same team. That sounds great, the redhead replied in a polite yet fake eager tone. I approached the 2 as Weiss was scheming her plan to dominate the school, the ambitious little girl. Positioning myself between them, I turn to Weiss and start my routine. Do you know what else is great? Can't believe I'm going to say this.
Me.
I'm Jaune Arc. Nice to meet you. Weiss stares at me with disgust, as if I were a piece of shit she had stepped on the sidewalk. But since I didn't sleep in the same area as the other students, she doesn't recognize me, and her reaction is astonishment at my horrible introduction. Pleasure to meet you, Jaune, the Amazon says sincerely. Wow, Pyrrha, I know you feel lonely, but you can't just listen to a sentence like that and be overjoyed. Value yourself, girl. I can't believe this, the girl in white muttered. Focus, you need to keep acting like a confident jerk, swallowing hard as I maintain my act, looking at Weiss. I heard we're going to form teams, and I thought a beautiful girl like you would like to team up with me. Weiss couldn't even look me in the eye. I understand. I wanted to turn my head too. Actually, I think the teams have 4 students, Pyrrha commented. I turn to her and get close, almost touching her, close enough to smell her perfume. And my God, she smells so good. It's spicy with hints of cinnamon, leather, and something citrus. Focus. I need to focus. Lucky you, princess. If you behave, you can still hop on the ARC train. Is it just my imagination, or did she just turn her head, smiling, biting her lip? It must have been my imagination. Your name is Jaune, right? Weiss interjects, coming between me and Pyrrha. Do you have any idea who you're talking to? No, Snow Princess. I prefer using princess than angel. This is Pyrrha Nikos. Hello again, said the redhead, waving happily at me. She graduated first in the Sanctum Academy. Never heard of her. Of course, I knew, but it was important to stay in character. Indignant, Weiss continues. She won the annual Mistral Regional Tournament 4 years in a row, a record. Seriously? Wow, congratulations. This time I was being authentic. Winning 4 times in a row since the age of 13 is no small feat. She's on the cover of Pumpkin Pete cereals. Wow, they only do that with celebrities and famous athletes. You're amazing, Pira. Thank you, she said dejectedly. For some reason, she seemed sadder. It was nice, despite the cereal being bad for your health. So, John, the girl in white says accusingly as she looks at me from head to toe. After hearing all this, do you think you're in a position to ask her to join your team? Of course. My statement caught both of them by surprise. You must be very confident in your abilities or have a lot of influence in the world to say something like that, Weiss comments, curious about who I am. In fact, I admit that I'm weak, and my connections can be counted on one hand. So you're just an idiot.
Ouch.
I just think Pira seems like a nice person. She didn't know me and treated me with respect, despite her being so famous and influential. I decided to improvise the ending to avoid being skewered. Looking into the Mistral champion's eyes, I continue. Pira, you seem like someone humble, kind, respectable, and very pleasant to talk to. I try to smile as genuinely as possible. And I would love to be on the same team as you. This sparks joy in the girl, who gives me the biggest smile I've seen since I arrived in this world. Good luck to both of you. See you at the initiation. I walk towards the cliff, confident that I made a good impression on Pira and afraid that I may have had a worse one with Weiss. Point of view, Pira Nikos. Who are you, Jaune Arc? When you approached me in the locker room, I thought you were another person trying to take advantage of me and my fame. But no, besides not knowing who I was, you approached Weiss first. At that moment, I thought you were interested in the Schnee family's money, but you weren't after money either. If money and fame weren't the reasons you approached, then what was? In the end, the answer was the simplest of all. You thought that Weiss and I were beautiful, and that's why you came to talk to us. That was a first for me. I've had people in the past who tried to flirt with me, but their interest in my appearance was at most secondary. When men and women talk to me, they want to know what I can do for them, for their careers. But John, he thought I was beautiful? He said I was kind and pleasant to talk to as well. I began to smile awkwardly on the launch platform for the Emerald Forest. I allowed myself to ignore the professor because I had already memorized the applicant's guide to Beacon. Does he like animals? What kind of food does he like? Does he like muscular girls? Due to my training, I am well-toned, especially in my legs. I hope he doesn't find it repulsive.
Ah.
What was that scream? I looked around, searching for the source of the voice that interrupted my thoughts. It was John. In the distance, I saw a blonde figure in a white shirt flying towards the forest. But why did he scream?
Wait.
Did he forget to plan his landing strategy? As I am launched, I activate polarity, my semblance, and make a course correction, being pulled towards John by my ferromagnetic items. Spotting a thick and stable branch, I force my landing on it and pull out Milo in the form of a rifle. Through the scope, I locate my target, and using the mecha shift function, I transform my rifle into a spear and throw it with the force of my arm and a dust shot. Guided by my semblance, I hit the target precisely without hurting my crush. I mean, friend. That's what I meant. Thank you, echoed through the forest, proving that he was alive. Sorry, I replied, running towards him. Although I knew where John was, I was also guided by my semblance. Polarity, besides allowing me to control metals through magnetism, also gave me the ability to detect metals. With that shield, finding John would be simple. A few meters from the tree where I impaled John, I began to feel a peculiar magnetic field. Weird. I stopped, concentrating more on my semblance. It was definitely metal, but I couldn't distinguish what kind of alloy it was. It seemed complex, difficult to manipulate. If you're going to stare at me, can you at least help me get down?
Jaune?
Someone found him before me. I urgently run towards my future partner, who luckily is still stuck in the tree, while Weiss is being pulled by a girl in red. Is there still room on your train? I sarcastically ask. You're quite the comedian, huh? Despite being hanging from a tree, he seemed happy to see me. How do I get him down? I could use my semblance in front of him. After all, he's my partner now. There's no point in hiding it from him. Lift your head, PYR. PYR. Before I could react, John pulled out Milo and fell from the tree. By reflex, I extended my arms and caught the blonde before he hit the ground. So, that's what every man wants, a beautiful girl treating him like a princess. Jaune fell, lying in my arms. Despite the mocking tone, he seemed happy. I was worried that he would consider me to be a stalker for impaling him on a tree and going after him. But he was happy, smiling in my lap, with his messy blonde hair and those big blue eyes. PYR. Yes, Jaune. I would rather not seem ungrateful, but would you mind putting me down? Sorry. Startled, I let him fall.
Ow.
Sorry. Darn it. I'm truly sorry, Jaune. I'm not usually this clumsy. It's okay, PYR. It's normal to get nervous when meeting new people. PYR? He called me that again. Why are you calling me that, Jaune? That what? PYR. The blonde boy thinks for a few seconds before responding. A cute nickname. If you'd like, I can stop calling you that. No. I unintentionally shouted. Jaune froze, staring at me. I mean, I liked the nickname. You can call me that. Let's keep moving. We walk for a few minutes, and despite hearing gunshots and explosions relatively close by, no Grimm attacks us. Are you okay, PYR? Why are they avoiding us? PYR. Maybe the other candidates are ahead of us and have already cleared a significant portion of the Grimm in this forest. Piranhigos. Yes. Darn it, I was ignoring Jaune. Sorry. It's okay. I shouldn't have shouted, the blonde says sadly. It's not a big deal. It's all my fault, Jaune. I wasn't paying attention. He looked at me curiously, as if trying to analyze me. I shouldn't have shouted because I ended up attracting Grimm. Growls started coming from the bushes near the trees, then a wolf-like creature emerged from the undergrowth, with a black body covered in bones and some parts of its body. A beowulf? Jaune asked. Yes, at least it's not an alpha. I inform as I equip a Ko and transform Milo from a spear into its sword form. I quickly engage in an attack against the creature, hitting its body with my shield and pressing its monstrous body against a tree. Roar! The Grimm roared, trying to escape and scratching my shield. I swiftly pierced the creature's chest with my sword and then pressed the blade upward, cutting the creature from its chest to the neck. The monster lets out a dry roar of pain, but its body starts becoming inert and begins to dissolve. Happy with the outcome, I turn towards my partner, who was being attacked by 3 beowulfs.
Jaune.
He had his shield raised and a knife that seemed to be buzzing. I need a hand here, PYR. I leaped over him, hitting one of the beowulfs with my shield and the other with a kick to the snout. Hold on tight, Jaune. Engaging with 2 of them at the same time, I left Jaune to defend himself against the third. Please wait a moment while I take care of these 2. I threw my shield at the creature on the left, stunning it for a few seconds. Meanwhile, I ran towards the one on the right and cut off the hand. It extended to strike me. Roar! The monster arched its back, throwing its body backward while roaring in pain. Seizing the opportunity, I jumped to be at the same level as the creature's head, allowing me to decapitate it. Rarg! I leaped to avoid the bite of the other beowulf, quickly retrieving my shield. I threw it again, and the aware creature crossed its arms to defend against the impact of a Ko. However, due to its crossed arms, it didn't see me leaping over it. In my descent, I drove my sword into the creature's skull, rendering it silent and lifeless as its bright red eyes dimmed. Shortly after, its body began to dissolve. Worried, I turned to Jaune, who was alone. No, he is panting. I need to do some cardio. Despite being tired and winded, Jaune still maintains his good humor. Are you okay? I ask, approaching him. He falls to the ground and lies down. I need 5 minutes. He informs, panting like a tired dog. At most 10. Don't worry, I'll keep watch while you recover. I store my shield on my back and transform Milo into its rifle form. Shield? Jaune doesn't have a mecha shift weapon with him. Did he not train before coming to Beacon? He admitted to being weak, but he doesn't even seem to have endurance or stamina. Does he at least have aura? Can I ask you a personal question? Yes, I'm single. What? That's not what I wanted to ask. On the ground, The boy laughs as if he were a mischievous child. Darn it, now I'm blushing all over. Better turn away. Sorry, PYR. What do you want to know? You don't have a mecha shift weapon. It doesn't seem like you have any combat training. Do you at least have your aura awakened? I glance back at him and see that he sits up, looking at me with a serious expression. Sorry, I know it's none of my business. I'm just curious. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. He sighs tiredly, but gets up from the ground and walks towards me. It's okay. You're entitled to know. He extends his hand forward, calling me to walk with him. I have zero training as a huntsman, and my aura was awakened less than 2 months ago.
What?
No training and such a short time with aura. That's crazy, John. Even with years of training and experience, people die in these initiations. How can you be so reckless? John's face darkens, and he looks down, frustrated. Far be it from me to prevent someone from living their life as they please. But this is insane. Why would he subject himself to this? I have a power, Pira. A power? My semblance is powerful, and Beacon is the best place in the world for me to learn how to use it and develop my skills as a huntsman. But what if you die? Then I'll have died.
What? What do you mean by that?
Don't you value your life? He smiles at me, but turns his face forward before responding. I believe that if you have something to offer to the world, something you can do better than anyone else, something that can help others. He stops walking and looks up. I believe it's not just a good idea to help those in need with that ability. I believe it's your responsibility. Responsibility? I guess a simple way to put it is, he forces a cough, clearing his throat before continuing. With great power comes great responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. Something simple, but so powerful. A philosophy of life, perhaps? That's very noble of you. He looks at me with those expressive blue eyes, as if he's staring into my soul. If it pleases you, he says in a melancholic tone, I can ask the professor to change partners.
What?
No, John, why would you do that? I thought you were worried about it, that I would hinder you or put you in danger with my inexperience.
No.
My concern is for your well-being. He looks at me, raising an eyebrow, trying to analyze me. After a few seconds of silence, he starts laughing but not at me. He seems relieved. How about you help me with my physical training then? That way, I can get the training I need and you'll be more at ease, right? He wasn't offended, and he even asked for help. Is he just a kind-hearted fool? I would love to train with you, John. He may be a fool, but he's kind, determined, kind-hearted, and kind of cute. I'm glad I got him as my partner. Unable to contain myself, I smile, hopeful for the next 4 years I'll spend with him as my partner. Are we going in the right direction? We could use an aerial view. Before I could suggest climbing a tree, John said something. MCS on. What did he say? MCS, make Stiltman armor. MCS? Who is he talking to? MCS, use aura. A golden energy mist suddenly appears out of nowhere, completely enveloping John's body.
Jaune.
Are you okay? Is this his semblance? The mist dissipates, revealing a metallic armor covering him from head to toe.
Jaune?
He suddenly grabs my arm, making me yelp in surprise. Sorry for being rude, but this drains a lot of aura. From his voice, I'm sure it's John inside that armor. I'm embraced by the armored figure, which starts to ascend. Is he flying? Looking down, I realize that it's the metallic legs of the armor that have extended to the height of the treetops. In other words, we're at least 80 meters high. I see ruins in that direction. That must be our objective. I think you're right.
Ah.
Out of nowhere, John starts moving, causing me to scream. At this height, I feel a little scared and dizzy. These long legs move quite fast. Holding on to him, I close my eyes. Although it's not as scary with my eyes closed, the rhythm of the movements and the speed of the wind indicate that we're moving at a fast pace. PYR, John says from inside the armor. It's fine if you hold on to me, but don't squeeze me too hard. Sorry, I say, opening my arms slightly and relaxing while staring at the armor. No problem. I need to be fast. I used over 30% of my aura to create this armor, and maintaining it is costing me 3% of aura per minute. Does he have a creation semblance?
I've heard of them.
They're not powerful, but at least they're versatile. Glancing back at him, I realized I've never heard of a creation semblance with the capacity to create anything so complex and different. Could this be the something he is capable of doing that no one else in the world can? It seems someone is already at the location. A blonde girl and a black-haired one. Maybe they'll join our team. For some reason, that leaves me in a sour mood. I'm not against women in our group, but diversity is a good thing, at least one man and one woman. Or better yet, 2 men. That would be perfect for our group. This way, I don't have to worry about gold-digging girls distracting John. In this way, I don't have to worry about ill-intended girls distracting John. Chapter 3. Am I a virgin again? Point of view. Jaune Arc. Heavy footsteps echoed with a metallic tone through the emerald forest. My gray armored form stood tall, passing through the trees while holding a red-haired girl in my arms. Saying that I was having a good day would be a lie. After all, I was having the best day of my life. Not that it's a big deal when you consider that I reincarnated less than a year ago. Anyway, in the early morning, I managed to take a decent shower, got new clothes, ate like a king, and to top it all off, I have a hot redhead clinging to me. Of course, I'd prefer if she did that when I wasn't wearing a full suit of armor that covers 100% of my body. Despite this inconvenience, I was still in a good mood because I killed my first Grim. Sure, killing a monster made of shadows and entropy is cool, but what made me even happier was what the death of the Grim triggered. Muitiverse crafting system. What would you like to do? Magic, 14.3 points. Aura, 64%. The death of the Grim gave me magic points. To be more specific, each Beowulf I killed gave me 0.1 magic points. This changes everything. If killing Grims gives me magic points, I don't need to spend a fortune on dust to create everlasting items. I can create weapons that can turn the tide of the war against the Grims on a global scale.
Wait.
I'm thinking too small. I could create sustainable technologies that would help the people of this world be less dependent on dust, thus reducing its price, and assisting the armies and hunters who rely on these magical stones to fight. And the best part is, if I patent my inventions, I'll receive royalties. Thank goodness my face is covered, otherwise, Pyrrha would see my greedy smirk. It seems there's someone at the location. The redhead's voice drew my attention forward, where Yang and Blake were. A chess piece, a white horse, was in the hands of the voluptuous, sweet Tang. Okay, Yang is ridiculously attractive. She's like a combination of a volleyball player and a porn star in a shampoo commercial. Maybe they'll join our team, I said, trying to get Yang's body out of my mind. Why am I so horny? Is it because I'm a teenager again? I was so preoccupied with my libido that I didn't even notice Pyrrha's annoyed expression at my suggestion. Reflecting on my hormonal situation, I realized another crucial detail about my new existence. Am I a virgin again? Oh, man, this is a mess. I need to fix this. As soon as I have enough money, I'm going to a brothel. I should take Lyron along to bond with him. Maybe I'll even take the whole CRDL team. Losing their cherry might stop them from acting like a bunch of assholes. Blake was the first to notice my approach. Even before I emerged from the trees, she turned towards me startled. She must have heard my footsteps with those ears behind her bow. Speaking of which, how does Blake's hearing work? She has 2 pairs of ears, one on the sides of her head and another on top. That must cause some sensory confusion. Just thinking about it gives me a headache. Maybe faunus brains have evolved to process information this way without causing dash. What the hell is that? A high-pitched female voice shouted. I didn't even realize we had left the forest, but Yang did, and she made sure the whole forest knew it. The sound of hydraulic limbs resonated through the temple as I began to shrink my legs, and Pyrrha jumped and landed silently. Despite Yang's exclamation, both girls stared at me in silence. Hey there, guys, I said. Silence was my response. I'm Jaune Arc, and this is my partner, Pyrrha Nikos. Hello, Pyrrha said with less enthusiasm than usual. Still, silence. The situation felt weird, and before I could try to break the ice, Yang pointed her finger at me and asked, "It's not fair. She has a robot partner?" Ruby will be so jealous. The blonde pouted, crossing her arms. Blake stared at Yang, not believing her genuine indignation. He's clearly a human or faunus wearing armor, Yang, the voice of reason among them. And robots don't have aura. They can't be hunters. I hope Penny never hears this. With the tension broken between the pairs, I could relax a bit. Look up. Or not. I had forgotten that Ruby falls from the sky in this part of the story, and without the original Jaune to intercept her in the air, I need to do something to prevent her from getting hurt. Stretching my legs to their fullest, I still couldn't reach Ruby. I needed to use my arms. As I reached my maximum height of 90 meters, I pointed my arms at the red-caped girl and managed to catch her in my hands about 20 meters from my body. Ugh, Ruby grumbled in my hands. "Hey there, Ruby," I said, looking at the small scythe wielder in my hands.
Jaune?
"Is that you?" Roared. Before I could respond, a black, bear-like form emerged from the forest, followed by an explosion on the creature's back. "Nora?" It's broken. Nora. A guy with oriental features dressed in green appeared, out of breath. "Please, never do that again." But the hammer-wielding girl ignored him and went straight to one of the artifacts, the White Tower, without a second thought. She placed the tower on her head and started to sing and dance. "I'm the queen of the castle. I'm the queen of the castle." "Nora," the green ninja shouted. "I'm going, Rin," the happy girl said. Lai Run and Nora Valkyrie were simple but endearing characters. I remember being quite frustrated with their development as a couple in the series. I hope it's better here. "Liar," accused the scythe-wielding girl in my arms.
Huh.
Ruby pouted, pointing her finger at me. "You said you had nothing but a shield and a gun." "I have a vibra knife too." "A vibra what?" She looked at me curiously about the weapon I hadn't explained the full capabilities of. "Where did you get this armor that stretches so much?" Rearg. I never thought I'd be happy to see a Grimm. A gigantic black bird hovered above us. "How can you leave me behind?" Weiss complained, clinging to the Nevermore. "I told you to jump," Ruby replied as if it were the most sensible thing in the world. "Hold on to me, Ruby." Huh. Without further warning, I let go of the black and red-clad girl, but she managed to grab onto my neck. I positioned myself where Weiss had been before her fall and extended my hands to catch her like a baby. My plan was perfect, except that Weiss fell from much higher than Ruby, and I hadn't prepared for the impact. "Ah!" Weiss and Ruby shouted.
Shit.
I grumbled as I fell backward. I gathered my limbs as much as possible, but the impact of the fall was significant, and it kicked up a lot of dust. If it weren't for my armor, I would have lost a lot of aura, or even something worse. I landed on my back on the ground. Weiss fared better in the fall. She was suspended by my hands. And as for Ruby, she ended up on my face. Yep. It's official now. I'm in an anime. "Hey." Weiss complained as I released her to free my hands. I quickly retracted my arms and removed the petabator from my face. Not that I minded the view, but her older sister, protective and violent as she was just 10 meters away. MCS release. As I spoke the command, the armor dissipated into a mist of golden energy. Muitiverse Crafting System. What would you like to do? Magic, 14.3 points. Aura, 28.7%. Damn, that fall drained a lot of aura, at least around 18%. "Ruby," Yang exclaimed, going to hug her younger sister. "I'm fine." Jaune softened my fall. "With metallic armor? Aura doesn't make sense." "That's true." Yang turned toward me. "I saw everything." Her tone at the end of the sentence was icy, filled with anger and veiled threats. "She's going to kill me. I hope not by sitting on my face. Now is not the time to be thinking about pervy things." Rearg. "Thanks again, Grimm." "He's coming around again." I pointed at the creature. "Our mission is to get the relics. We don't need to fight the Nevermore." Agreeing with Ruby, I headed toward the white tower, and she went for the white knight. We ran towards the cliff, but the creature was too fast and circled around to attack us. Nora and Rin jumped to the left, dodging a barrage of sharp feathers. Distract him, Nora. Smiling, the petite redhead began firing her grenade launcher in the direction of the monstrous bird. Taking the explosions to the face, the creature changed the direction of its flight, moving away from the grenades. Coward! The little Valkyrie shouted. With the giant scorpion Grim, which I forgot the name of, gone, we could all fight the Nevermore. I equipped my shield in my left hand and looked Pyrrha in the eyes. If I create an opening, can you take the creature down? With a serious face and a determined look, she nodded. Follow the lead. I ran openly with my shield raised toward the creature, providing cover for Pyrrha, who was right behind me. Rear, the creature roared again, hurling another barrage of sharp feathers in my direction. Although sharp, the feathers were light, so they hit the shield without me feeling or scratching the paint. I love this shield. As soon as the feathers stopped hitting my shield, I shouted.
Now.
I raised my shield high, and the redhead jumped on it, using it as a launching platform to leap towards a Grim. Empowered by her aura and possibly semblance, Pyrrha flew like a missile towards the Grim, hitting the monster's left eye with her spear. Rear! The creature's scream echoed throughout the area, chilling to the bone. Was it so intense because it was an alpha? Without hesitation, Pyrrha planted her feet on the creature's skull and pulled her spear down, forcing the creature to descend. You're awesome, Pyr. I looked at the rest of the group and began shouting orders. When Pyrrha lands, I'll pin the creature to the ground. Attack with everything you've got. Everyone nodded, except Pyrrha, and when the collision of the monster against the ground approached, I activated my semblance. MCS. On. Multiverse Crafting System. What would you like to do? Magic, 14.3 points. Aura, 29.2%. I need something cheap, simple, easy to use that can pin that beast to the ground. MCS make pace gun. Pyrrha jumped, rolled on the ground to disperse kinetic energy from the fall. She's amazing. MCS use aura. Meanwhile, the Nevermore crashed into the ground, raising dust, and a tank backpack with a pipe connected to a toy gun appeared on my back. The weapon was quite large and clunky, with a barrel and hole big enough to fit a ping-pong ball, but it was perfect for the job. Running awkwardly and almost stumbling, I approached the creature on the ground. It was already moving and struggling to get up. I have to be quick. I aimed the pace gun at the creature and started firing its contents. Is that glue? Blake asked. Yes, the pace gun originally belonged to a classic but minor Marvel villain, Paste Pot Pete. I know he changed his name, but I prefer the original name because it's ridiculous. The liquid adhesive dried quickly, and since the gun discharged in large volume, it took only a few seconds to pin the Nevermore, with its left wing and skull stuck to the ground.
Now.
I yelled to the young hunters. Everyone, except Pyrrha, attacked the creature, and I have to say it wasn't pretty. It was a group of armed teenagers beating up a trapped animal. Granted, the animal was a monster made of darkness capable of killing thousands of people. Weiss, Nora, and Rin attacked the creature's back to keep it lying on the ground while Yang hammered the creature's skull with punches, and RWBY tried to cut the creature's neck at an awkward angle. You're right. I turned my head to her. You do have a great power. The Mistral champion commented beside me. Looking at her, I noticed shock and surprise on her face. Your semblance is not powerful in the traditional sense, but it's extremely versatile. Thanks, I replied, smiling at her. I think you didn't quite get it, John. Her tone was serious. Perhaps there are people with the ability to create something as complex as your inventions, but… Oh! Ruby shouted, celebrating the creature's death as it began to dissolve. I don't know anyone with the power to emulate dust or even the aura reserves powerful enough to create such potent things and still have enough aura to keep fighting. When I paraphrased Spider-Man, I was referring to my power combined with the knowledge of the future. Is my semblance alone really that powerful? You suggest I should be careful? I suggest you hide it. Her tone was serious and a little threatening.
Wow.
I didn't expect to hear that from the biggest simp of all Remnant, especially considering she's my simp. Your pistol is easy to justify, a weapon that uses water and earth dust that reacts with your aura and semblance to create adhesive properties. An interesting idea. But that armor was too powerful for a regular Creation Semblance. It just stretches legs to over 50 meters in height, and your arms stretched even more, carrying RWBY and Weiss at the same time, not to mention it was made of steel or some other alloy, giving you extra protection. Who would have thought Stiltman's armor would be so good? I think you're right. The Amazon beside me relaxed her body and breathed a sigh of relief, considering her advice. After all, you are the authority on hiding your semblance. The tranquility evaporated from Pyrrha's body, and she tensed up, staring at me wide-eyed. Sometimes you change direction mid-jump, and I think I saw you speed up while airborne. Her green eyes stared at me with all the attention in the world. I imagine your semblance is something like telekinesis to pull yourself in midair. Of course, I already knew exactly what her semblance was, but I prefer to play this little game here to show that I'm not as dumb as I seem, even if I am a bit. Thinking about it, maybe it's a semblance that controls metals. I said, faking uncertainty. I have the impression that you're drawn from your weapons and certain items, like your armor, bracelets, and is that why you wear a tiara? She closed her mouth and glared at me irritably. It's a headband for protection, not a tiara, the redhead said, pointing her finger at my face. Why is it gold? I replied in a teasing tone. She blinked her eyes with a red face, feeling embarrassed. It's an easier metal to control. Confirmed. Your semblance controls metals, something like magnetism. Pyrrha lowered her head, both irritated and tired. Please keep it a secret. In exchange, I won't talk about yours. Her face looked irritated, but her voice sounded concerned and sad. She is Pyrrha Nikos, the invincible girl, the Mistral champion. Despite her suffering from the loneliness of a great star, she also suffers from the weight of her fame. Fame achieved by secretly using her semblance, a secret now at risk because her idiotic partner bragged about having discovered it. And to make matters worse, I didn't even discover it for real. I just watched the damn show. Relax, PYR. I extended my hand, touching her shoulder to comfort her. Your secret is safe with me. This seemed to alleviate the redhead's worries. But that doesn't mean you have to keep mine because of that. She turned her head to the side, giving me a curious look. I'll keep your secret because you're my partner. I emphasized, raising my arm and giving a thumbs up like a shonen anime protagonist. The invincible girl relaxed her body, a smile appearing on her face, with a few tears rolling down her cheeks. She began to laugh and cry. I must have been too ridiculous to make her laugh and cry at the same time. Slightly irritated by my shonen moment being ridiculed, I walked over to the group of young hunters still celebrating the death of the giant Nevermore. Come on, Kaksuda, we have to go back and pass the initiation for real. Okay, did you just call me a what? Point of view, Glinda Goodwitch. It seems that Mr. Ark's predictions were correct. The headmaster's tone was dry and tired. Him being paired with Miss Nikos wasn't enough to prove that he had information about the future. There could be a simple explanation for it, like John already having a desire to have a strong partner and Pyrrha Nikos being the perfect candidate. Now, the Mistral champion going after him was something peculiar, but if he had befriended her before the fact, maybe even before coming to Beacon, it would justify her going after him. Him guessing who his partner would be isn't something so bizarre as to prove everything he said yesterday, but he predicted all the pairs and the teams they would be in. He knew about the formation of teams RWBY, JNPR, and even CRDL, the last one being a team he hadn't interacted with any of the members, at least while he was in the forest. His information about the past was correct, and apparently, his information about the future is as well. I muttered aloud next to the professor. Does that frustrate you? The headmaster turned to face me. I took a deep breath and looked at the monitors showing the 8 apprentice hunters walking toward us. A little. It makes it seem like the future is written in stone, and we can't change it. A pessimistic perception, but true considering the results in front of us. but perhaps. The headmaster paused, taking a sip of coffee from his favorite mug. Perhaps your way of seeing it is incorrect. Incorrect. It's not that we can't change the future. Maybe we shouldn't change it. But what about all the lives we can save? The fall of Beacon? Lionheart's betrayal and General Ironwood. Ashbin closed his eyes and sighed deeply before giving me an answer. For now, we know what awaits us, and we can prepare. If we act hastily and do something like imprisoning Director Lionheart on suspicion of betrayal without even conducting an investigation. He stopped, looking up thoughtfully. Salem will react, and at best, she'll retreat to alter her plans. And at worst, the Queen of the Grim launches an offensive with the full weight of her army of monsters. A cold sweat formed on my forehead just thinking about the number of casualties that could bring. The headmaster let a comment slip, looking at the monitor showing the pair Jaune and Pyrrha. At least I won't need to name most of the pairs this year, and who knows, Miss Nikos might be a good influence on Mr. Arc. I agree. He needs a lot of training to measure up to the other first-year students. I was talking more about common sense concerning his semblance. That's true. He was summoning high-tech armor and unknown chemicals as if it were nothing. If James sees something like that, he'll do everything to recruit the boy. Let's go, Miss Goodwitch. We can't be late for initiation. Walking in silence, I contemplate that with all this knowledge about the future and extraordinary technologies he has access to, maybe Jaune can bring us the definitive victory against the Queen of the Grim. Chapter 4, Friend Zone. Point of view. Yang Xiaolong. Knock knock. Out of nowhere, someone started pounding on the door at 6:30 in the morning. Knock knock. There's no way in hell I'm getting out of bed to deal with this psycho who wakes up so early just to annoy others. Knock knock. Fuck off. Can someone please answer the door? Ruby was fast asleep. I swear this girl damaged her hearing from all the training at the shooting range. Blake was all covered up, probably reading some porn novel, and Weiss' bed was empty. Maybe she was in the bathroom? Knock knock. I'm coming, damn it. My shout made the person outside stop pounding on our door. I look at myself in the mirror, all disheveled, wearing a Dust Storm t-shirt, the best rock band in all Remnant. The shirt was long enough to cover my parts and then some, but I probably should put on some shorts. Screw it. I'm not going to make an effort to look presentable for a lunatic who disturbs others before 7. Good morning, a cheerful voice said as soon as I opened the door. It's too early for a normal person to be this happy, and I'm not at all surprised to see that the abnormal one is none other than Jaune Arc, the man Ruby stamped with her twat. The guy carries some brown bags with him, and next to him is Pyrrha, the serial girl, looking like she had sand in her panties. I didn't respond to his greeting and decided to stare at him in silence. Sorry for waking you up so early. Well, at least he knows he messed up. But I went to buy breakfast for my team, to celebrate the first day of school. So, you bought food for your team, and now you're here to show off in front of us? Jaune Arc, you're a dead man. And I got something for you guys too. He handed me one of the bags, which caught me a little off guard. You're not a dead man anymore, Jaune, but you'll still pay for waking me up so early. I got bagels, cookies, sandwiches, and 4 coffees. You said coffee? I asked, now 100% awake. He blinked in surprise but gave me a smile as he pulled something from the bag he'd given me. It was a 700 milliliters travel cup. Yes, it's mean black coffee. That watery stuff they serve for free in the cafeteria doesn't help at all to stay awake. Your punishment is cancelled, Jaune. In fact, you've just become my favorite person at Beacon. This is almost too good to be true. I took a sip of the miraculous liquid from the gods. As the hot coffee goes down my throat, I finally realize something weird. This is too good to be true. Why did he do this? Thanks for the coffee, Cherry Boy. You're welcome, Jaune replied, unfazed. Someone here is more confident than they appear. But where does all this confidence come from? Is he not a virgin? Does he have a big dick? Unlike Jaune, Pyrrha was blushing and covering her mouth with her left hand. But I'd appreciate it if you'd be honest with me. I said flat to him. Honest? Are you trying to get something from me? The first day of school hasn't even started yet, and I already have a stalker? What's his plan? To come at me before any other student gets a chance? I admire his courage, but the blonde could have waited for me to comb my hair or at least take a shower. The guy in front of me sighs and relaxes his body, preparing to tell the truth. Okay, you got me.
I want something.
Clever boy. Back at Signal, it was the same. Everyone wanted a piece of Yang, but no one had the guts to tell me the truth. By the end of the day, all the guys were cowards, afraid of my strength, afraid of my dad, who was a professor, or afraid of my strong and confident personality. You might be cute despite the scrawny frame, but eventually you'll get burned for flying too close to the sun. That is Yang Xiaolong. You could keep my semblance a secret? Maybe a movie if you.
Wait.
Movie. Arc said, confused. He wasn't hitting on me? What are you talking about? Jaune asked. Behind Jaune, the Mistral champion chuckled, trying to hold back her laughter. She thought you were asking her out. Pyrrha said in a cheerful and relieved tone. Jaune looked at me incredulously, raising an eyebrow. Seriously? Jaune asked, incredulous.
What?
Am I not good enough? Is the idea of him asking me out really that crazy? I think you're beautiful, Yang. That shut Nikos up instantly.
Huh.
Take that, you scarlet whore. But we hardly know each other. Jaune comforted me. If you'd like, we can be friends and see where it goes. Friends. The invincible girl didn't bother to hold back and burst out laughing so hard that she lost her balance and leaned against the wall. Okay, Jaune commented, not understanding what was happening. I have to go now. I'm counting on you to talk to the rest of your team. He pointed his fingers at me like guns and backed away. Me, Yang Xiaolong, friend-zoned by Jaune Arc? How is that even possible? I'm the hottest girl in school. The other girls envy my body. Mothers fear having me as a daughter-in-law, and fathers would be proud to know their son's face is my chair. Excuse me. A serious voice caught my attention.
It was Pyrrha.
Did she stay behind to talk to me? Go ahead, cereal girl. She scowled at the mention of cereal. Do famous people not like to be reminded of their fame? I just wanted to reinforce the request to keep his secret safe. He's a good person, but he doesn't have a very sharp common sense. I see, she's acting like an older sister. I guess it's normal to offer that kind of support to your teammate, especially if he's your partner. And I assure you, Jaune has zero interest in you. That zero hit hard on my ego. What the fuck? I know I rush things a bit, but dash. I know, I'd even say it was a bit embarrassing. My jaw dropped to the floor. Is this bitch saying what I think she's saying? Wait a second there, invincible girl. In response, Pyrrha scowled even more, staring at me with greater intensity. Don't like that little nickname, huh? Good to know. It was all just a mistake, okay? I'm not interested in that anorexic giraffe named Jaune Arc. Pyrrha paused for a moment, but then gave me a serene smile. I'm glad we've cleared that up, right? You're not interested in Jaune. That smug smile of hers is giving me chills. That's right, it was all a misunderstanding. You were just desperate and jumped on the first male who gave you attention. Ouch, commented Blake, who had her head peeking out from under the covers. I can't believe this. Listen here, you son of a B-Pyr. Jaune shouted from the JNPR team's doorway. Come eat before it gets cold. I'm coming, Jaune. Nikos looked me up and down as if judging with a mocking gaze. You see, Yang? That's the sound of a man who desires my presence. He's calling me by a sweet nickname. The audacity of this red cow. I know you probably haven't heard much of that, but if you take better care of yourself, maybe someone might want you in the future. Nikos concluded, heading towards her room. Pyrrha returned to her room without a response from me because I was paralyzed with anger and shock from the bizarre situation that unfolded. That was painful, Blake commented, sitting on her bed. What's wrong with that bitch? She's probably into Jaune, and when you defended yourself by insulting Arc, it triggered her protective response for her husbando. For the love of the gods, Blake. Thinking about it, she did get aggressive when I insulted him. At least it makes sense. Take my word for it. My partner smiled calmly at me. I'm cultured in these matters. I raised an eyebrow at her. Reading smutty romance doesn't make you cultured. Blake widened her eyes and looked at me indignantly. I don't read porn. When you were in the bathroom, I noticed a book on your bed with someone's abs being fondled by some horny old lady. Hortense is not a horny old lady. She's a refined lady with an open mind for love. Hortense? Even the name sounds old. Blake was furious, her face turning red with anger, but for some reason she calmed down and smiled at me. You know what? I'm not going to argue about literature with someone who got turned down by Jaune Arc. Go to hell, I replied, flipping her off. The day has barely started, and I'm already pissed off. At least it can't get any worse. I pick up my scroll and open the class schedule to distract myself from this morning's disaster. We have grim studies today. That should improve my mood. Point of view, Jaune Arc. You know what's funny about Beacon's class schedule? They only have one class per day. This class takes up the entire morning, and in the afternoon, the students can do whatever they want. Study, train, work on their weapons, etc. Beacon Academy's facilities were at their disposal, but they were only required to attend morning classes and earn good grades. This explains why the characters in the series have so much free time. But first, the story of a young and handsome lad. Me, shouted an elderly but powerful male voice. The first day of school was unfolding almost exactly like in the series. Professor Port was rambling on with stories that didn't contribute anything to the lesson. Ruby was drawing, Weiss was mad and glaring at Ruby, and for some reason, Yang was crying on her desk. Did she take my rejection personally? I don't remember her showing any interest in Jaune Arc from the original series. In the fanfic universe, there were many stories with the Dragon Slayer ship, Yang x Jaune. Perhaps my interventions have already affected the original canon? All I did was bring them breakfast, so they wouldn't be late and maybe earn some points with the main cast. By my side, Pyrrha was in excellent spirits, smiling as if she'd won the lottery, and every time she looked at Yang, she chuckled quietly. Since when are these two friends to the point of having inside jokes? When I woke up early in the morning, she was all smiles, wanting to accompany me to get breakfast. But when I said I was going to buy breakfast for Team RWBY2, she frowned. For a moment, I thought it might be jealousy or something, but after a short conversation with Yang, she was all smiles again. Women are truly complex creatures that men strive so hard to understand. I doubt that I have the abilities to achieve such a feat. I lack the willpower, intellect, and, most importantly, the necessary attend-dash. I do, sir, Weiss exclaimed, raising her hand.
Oh.
Are we at the part where she fights the Borbatusk? Now, what was I thinking? Look, Nora has a 4-color pen. I wonder where she got that. Oh, Nora, where can I get a cool pen like that? Nora turned to me and gave me an angelic smile, while Rin looked at me with pity and shook his head. Why the pity? I just want to know where she got the pen. What could go wrong? Man, if regret could kill. Nora monopolized my ear for the rest of the class. I missed Weiss' fight, her argument with Ruby, and worst of all, I still don't know where she got the pen. She kept babbling about how I was a good leader. After all, a pen could be the difference between life and death. She had so much energy, and her disjointed speech sounded like someone hopped up on sugar, caffeine, and cocaine. I only managed to shut her up when I pulled out an identical pen from my pocket, a replica created by my semblance. It looked just like hers, with the same amount of ink missing in all the colors. Ren understood what I did and pulled Nora out of the room. This girl has too much energy. You think? Pyrrha replied, laughing at my misfortune. I didn't even notice. I scowled at the invincible girl, but I didn't respond. Just because she's a hot redhead doesn't mean she can make fun of me all the time, just most of the time. We're the last ones in the room? Yes. Do you want to go to the library to study?
Pyrrha asked.
You don't have a formal education, so I imagine you need extra study. She's right. Spending some extra hours studying could help me, but I have other plans. Sorry, but I can't.
Ah,
She exclaimed, surprised. I'll see you later. She turned towards the door, looking quite disappointed. Wait, Pyrrha is disappointed that I can't study with her? Why does she care so much? I actually don't care about the regular classes. Once again, her posture deflates, but I don't want her to think I'm brushing her off because I find her annoying. I had a prior engagement with the hottest MILF teacher in the school. But then there's the question, Amazon redhead versus blonde MILF teacher. Which one is better? If this were a fanfic, I'd like to know my readers' opinions in the comments. Sorry, if I had known, I wouldn't have made such an inconvenient request. Why does she apologize so much? Maybe I can do something to cheer her up. Actually, I'm not that worried about my grades in the knowledge subjects. Once again, the girl's posture changes, and she looks hopeful. It would be really helpful if I had a champion partner to train me on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I'd love to. Pyrrha shouted unintentionally. This girl is thirsty, and I'd love to quench her thirst, but her being underage still bothers me a bit, but it's still an issue.
Deal.
I smiled as I walked past her. Now I need to run. Good Witch doesn't strike me as someone who tolerates tardiness. This made her laugh with a melodic voice, giving me a sense of peace. I don't know if I'm thirsty or if I'm actually falling for her. True. See you later, John. See you, redhead. She froze at the nickname, but didn't have time to ask before I dashed off. Chapter 5. Balls of Steel. Point of view. Glinda Goodwitch. You're late, I shouted, standing in the middle of the combat arena. Hello, teacher. Today I got lost on the road of life, replied the young Arc, scratching his head. That just soured my mood even more. Not only is he late, but he's making jokes too? If it weren't for your value to Headmaster Ashbin, you would be severely punished for wasting my time and disregarding the opportunity to have a private lesson with a member of Beacon's faculty. John tensed up and looked at me with a serious expression. My sincere apologies. His tone was heavy, making him seem genuinely sorry. The truth is, I was dealing with some internal matters with my partner. Miss Nikos. Yes, that's right. Interesting. With all this attitude, it must be something related to the future. She's important for the future, then? Yes, as a candidate to be the Fall Maiden. I couldn't contain myself and broke my serious demeanor with the news. I brought my left hand to my forehead and began massaging the newly formed headache. But she's only a first year. And Ashbin already considered her a candidate even before initiation. More secrets, of course. This doesn't compare to what John had already revealed, but he still knows more about Beacon's headmaster than his own second-in-command. He needs to share more with you, John commented. John looked at me with pity, not for my ignorance, but as if he pitied the disregard with which the headmaster treated me. Let's get to the point, I grumbled, drawing the disciplinarian and pointing it at the young man in front of me. We're here to discuss your semblance. You won't leave here without explaining everything about how it works. My tone was stern and sharp, but the boy just smiled. Yes, ma'am. Very well. Start by giving me a general explanation of it. Then I'll begin asking questions to help identify weaknesses and how I can assist in enhancing its combat performance. My semblance allows me to create anything I have a basic knowledge of. It can fill in the gaps in knowledge as long as they're not extreme. The young man commented with some uncertainty. I see. You didn't have all the knowledge about that armor used in initiation? I have a lot of knowledge about the performance of that armor, both for civilian and combat use. My knowledge of hydraulics is much smaller, and it was this gap in knowledge that my semblance filled. That's absurd. Could you produce a weapon just by seeing it being used? I'm not 100% sure, but anything I've seen being used repeatedly? John paused to think for a moment, as if searching his memory for the answer, or making one up. Okay, you know what? I give up, the boy said in a bored tone. Give up? I asked, surprised. I'm not going to explain how I gained all this knowledge, but I won't lie to you either. Huh. I just know that anything I've seen before, I can reproduce. And if you try using a highly technological weapon in front of me several times, I'm not sure if I'll be able to create something similar with my semblance. I see. This is new. He's withholding information, but he didn't outright lie to my face. Thank you for your honesty, John. Maybe he's not so bad after all. You're welcome, the boy replied, pointing finger guns at me. I take back the compliment. He's still an annoying brat. Let's move on to the next aspect of your semblance. What does it cost you to use it? I have two options for creating items. The first is aura. Although I regenerate aura normally after using my semblance, aura-based objects are not everlasting. If they have an energy cost or something like ammunition, they consume aura quickly. Powerful and versatile, but with limitations. If it were only that, it would be a relatively normal creation semblance. But the boy didn't stop talking as he took his shield off his back. I made this shield using the second option, which makes it eternal. Jaune paused dramatically, smiling at me. Magic. I freeze when he mentions the M word. Jaune breaks me out of my stupor with a laugh. I figured that would be a reaction, but I'm not lying. I'm a magic user. I hope you understand the weight of your statement, Mr. Arc. There are only 6 magic users in the world, and what you're proposing changes the balance of power in all of Remnant. I am a magic user. I just don't generate my own magic. You don't generate your own magic? The boy nodded affirmatively. And how do you use magic? By using dust, to be more precise. That's a relief. A semblance influenced by dust isn't new, making his power less aberrant. If you use dust for perpetual creations, just say so. No need for absurd declarations involving magic. Jaune smiled, shaking his head negatively. Dust is crystallized magic. You can ask Ashbin about that, he'll confirm. I'm getting tired of this boy spewing one bombshell after another as if it's nothing. If dust is magic, that makes every hunter a magic user, so you're not special, are you? This should wipe that smile off his face. And his response was a smile. That isn't everything? Are there more details involving dust? I asked incredulously. I can store dust as magic points. For example, I can use a fire dust crystal to create water. And that is impossible for other semblances, even creation ones. Fire dust generates fire effects. Jaune confirmed what I said, nodding his head once again. I still don't know if there's a limit to how many magic points I can store. This shield is the most expensive item I've made using dust. It cost me 5,000 magic points. Considering you used dust to create it, how much does that cost in lean? The boy gave a sheepish smile but answered despite his embarrassment. 1 million lean. What? He laughed awkwardly and embarrassedly, but I didn't correct the information. How did you come into so much money? I think my parents wanted me to go to college, maybe become a doctor or a lawyer. I need to research the Arc family. Was it worth spending so much money on this shield? The boy's expression turned serious as he looked at me. Yes, without a doubt. What's so special about this shield? I'll delve into that another day. For now, let's focus on his semblance. Could you create something simple for me? Once using aura, and then with dust. Magic. I facepalm, but I indulge his childishness. Then with magic. Sometimes he's so mature, other times he's so childish. MCS on. Jaune muttered, staring into the void. He seemed focused on something in front of him. MCS. Create a 4-color pen. A pen? MCS. Use aura. As he finished the third sentence, a golden mist manifested in his hand but quickly dissipated, leaving behind a 4-color pen. Interesting. I approached him, looking at the pen in question. May I test it? I test the pen by using all 4 colors on the back of my hand, and it works normally. How much aura did you use? 0.3%. I'm surprised. Even simple things usually cost 10 or even 20 times more aura than that. This is why there are so few hunters with a creation semblance on the field. People say I have a lot of aura, Jaune replied, understanding my surprise. Understood. Now with dust. Magic. Correct me again, and you and your team will have detention this Saturday. Yes, ma'am, the boy replied, alarmed. I need to tighten discipline on this boy. He's getting too cheeky for my liking. MCS on. The boy muttered once again, staring into space. MCS. Create a 4-color pen. What is he staring at? MCS. Use magic. The same process repeated, with a pen materializing in his hand. I repeated the testing process, and it worked just like the other pen. Does the pen created by aura continue to drain your reserves? A little, after its creation, only when you use the ink. I can recover the aura I used to create it this way. John looked at the pen created by Aura and pointed his open hand at it. MCS release. The pen and what was written with it dissolved into a golden mist automatically. Can you do the same with the pen created by Dust? Magi dash. A simple raise of my eyebrows silenced the boy before he condemned his entire team to a Saturday of studying. MCS release. John said, pointing his hand at the other pen. And nothing happened. Too bad. In emergencies, it would be interesting for you to be able to reallocate your resources for something urgent. I commented, looking at the perpetual pen. What do you mean? Turning your shield into a drill to rescue civilians from debris, for example. The boy grumbled, thinking further about the matter. Do you need to keep speaking the commands aloud to create items? I'm not sure, John replied, embarrassed. I also noticed that you stare into space while creating something. Is that necessary, or could you do it while fighting? I'm not sure about that either. His voice sounded ashamed and defeated. With each question, it became clear that Jaune Arc didn't have great mastery over his semblance, and that was his biggest weakness as a hunter in training. Despite his knowledge of the future, John lacked combat experience. His physical preparation was poor, his knowledge of Grimm's was slightly better than the rest of his academic repertoire, but history, politics, geography, he knew almost nothing. I walked up to the boy and placed my hand on his shoulder. Don't feel bad. You've only recently awakened your aura, and you already have a level of control over your semblance that few achieve even after years of training. Thank you, John replied, relieved. Despite all his powerful knowledge, John was insecure, which wasn't entirely bad. It would be worse if he were arrogant, given his current weaknesses. But we'll change that, Mr. Arc. I brandished the disciplinarian against the wind as 2 out of the 3 boxes in the corner of the room opened, manipulated by my telekinesis, revealing their contents. Balls? John asked. Steel balls, to be more precise. The metal spheres were the size of tennis balls. I'm going to use my semblance to throw these balls at you, and your job is to dodge them while keeping your aura up to cushion the impact if any of them hit you. This way, we'll work on the basics of aura control while training your reflexes. The young Arc's face brightened, and he started to equip his shield. No shield, John. We're focusing on your aura, not your combat skills. Bring it on. John replied with an arrogant smile. Is that so? Since you're so confident, let's make your training more interesting. John looked at me curiously, scratching his neck again. How much aura do you spend to create a small gravel stone? Not understanding my random question, John responded with uncertainty. I think about 0.1%, maybe even less. Perfect. Then you'll dodge the balls with your aura up while creating stones every time I count aloud. The young Arc's eyes widened in shock. And you'll create these stones without giving your commands aloud and without staring into space. If I notice that you're not paying attention, you'll get a ball to the face. Ha, ball to the face. Laughed the stud ant. You could at least buy me dinner first. A vein of anger pulsed on my forehead in response to John's juvenile comment. Perhaps you'd prefer getting hit somewhere softer? John crossed his legs and covered his crotch with both hands. That's abuse, John complained, his voice reflecting more fear than indignation. Dozens of steel spheres began to float around the arena, encircling the trembling student. This, Mr. Arc, is a private lesson. I don't like stooping down to the student's level, but sometimes it's necessary for them to understand the gravity of the situation. Original point of view. Everything hurts. My current existence is reduced to groaning in pain while gasping for breath on the arena floor. How are you feeling? Professor Goodwitch asked, far too cheerfully for my liking. Like I've spent the last 4 hours dodging and defending against homing steel balls. Actually, I was referring to your aura, Glinda said in a sympathetic tone. And don't be so dramatic. We take breaks. Muitiverse crafting system. What would you like to make? Magic, 9.3 points. Aura, 15.2%. Did that pen cost me 5 points of magic?
Damn.
Your aura, Mr. Arc. Oh right, I almost forgot. 15.2%. Very well. The professor replied, jotting down notes in a notebook. I'm not sure if I improved my aura control, but after taking so many hits to the face, I did learn how to use my semblance without speaking and discovered that I didn't need to keep staring into space. There might have been a way to learn this without breaking my nose, but Professor Goodwitch didn't seem interested in that. As I was lost in thought, my blonde aggressor was muttering something under her breath while making calculations and notes. After a few minutes, she told me to stand up, which I did while grumbling. Based on what I've observed over the past 4 hours and the data collected by your scroll from your initiation until now, I've come to the following conclusions. The scrolls collect data on the students. The professor chose to ignore my question and continued. I estimate that you have, on average, 4 times more aura than a conventional hunter. Wow, that sounds like a lot. Do I have 4 times more aura than a regular person? No, Mr. Arc, you have 4 times more aura than an average hunter. Compared to a civilian with aura, you have around 20 times more aura. I couldn't help myself. Hell yeah. Suck it, world. I'm the king of everything. Calm down, John. Watch out, Raven. Daddy's coming for your sour pussy. Mr. Arc. My entire body froze as if trapped in a force field. And of course, Glinda was pointing the disciplinarian at me. I understand your excitement, but you will not use that kind of language during official academy activities, let alone in my presence. My bones creak as Professor Goodwitch straightens my spine, putting me in a neutral and attentive position. Agreed. Yes. I replied, breaking into a cold sweat. I wasn't afraid of her, but I almost let out another piece of masochistic nonsense. What kind of person holds back when a bespectacled MILF professor points a riding crop at them? In addition to your extensive aura reserves, you seem to recover quickly, perhaps in proportion to the increase in your aura. 4 times. Something like that. She flipped through her spreadsheet before continuing. However, your aura seems to drain more than usual. Impacts seem to remove almost double the aura compared to a student in your class. Of course, it's not all good news. Your aura also appears to be more fragile, absorbing between 57% and 62% of what it should. I lowered my head, looking at the ground. So, besides being terrible at physical combat skills, I'm also awful at handling aura? Does that mean I'm weak in the soul department? Mr. Arc? I should make up for it somehow. Are you listening?
Maybe.
I should stop worrying so much about sticking to canon. Perhaps I should have some fun with my semblance.
Jaune.
The professor nearly shouted, trying to get my attention. Sorry, Professor. I understand. You must be tired and sick of looking at my face. That's the best part. Damn it, I did it again. The professor stared at me sternly, raising an eyebrow. Sorry. I mumbled, feeling foolish. I appreciate the compliment, John. When I looked up, I noticed the professor's cheeks were red as she avoided my gaze. But it's not appropriate to behave that way toward a member of the faculty. Watch out so you don't repeat such behavior. Was she embarrassed? Did she like my silly comment? What are my chances with Glinda Goodwitch? She's closer to my age in my previous life, so I feel more drawn to her, but I thought I had a 0% chance considering I'm inhabiting the body of a scrawny teenager. But what if she's a cradle robber cougar? Before I dismiss you, I have a gift from Professor Ojpin. The 3rd box in the corner of the arena was lifted by Glinda's invisible semblance and dragged in front of me. Inside this box, you'll find Grade 2 electricity and fire dust. Grade 2 dust is used to power vehicles and buildings. In this 1-meter-high box, there must be at least. This is the average amount of crystals we use to power Beacon for 1 month. How much is that in lean? The same amount as your shield. Whoa, is there 1 million lean in this box?
Wait.
The Academy spends an average of 1 million lean per month? Do you spend all of this due to the machinery hidden underground where Amber is, and also to conceal the relic of choice? Goodwitch didn't bother hiding her irritation and let out a tired sigh. But of course, you know about the school's underground facilities. Why wouldn't you? Sorry. It's not your fault, John. But I must admit, I'm curious about where you spent so much dust money on your shield without raising suspicion. After all, it's not normal for someone so young to spend so much money. Black market. Another tired sigh escaped the professor's lips. Just a moment. Is your supplier connected to Roman Torchwick? Yes, but indirectly. She looked at me suspiciously, skeptical of my simple answer. All right, I know why Torchwick is stealing dust, but I'll hold on to that information for now. You're holding on to a lot of important information, Mr. Arc. I've already told you more than Ashpin would in your entire lifetime. The professor's face tightened, and she gripped the hilt of her weapon, glaring at me with icy fury. Maybe I should have kept my mouth shut. Let's wrap this up. Ashpin instructed me to let you use this dust however you want during your training. I want to see you absorb all of this dust, and then create 2 items for me. What exactly? One combat item, like your shield, and another can be anything you want, but it should be highly technological. Consider it done. The interface of my semblance appeared as I held one of the fire dust crystals. Muitiverse Crafting System. Dust detected. Would you like to absorb it? Magic, 9.3 points. Aura, 15.2%.
Yes.
As soon as I mentally commanded, a golden mist enveloped the crystal, and soon it began to fade away, while bright red veins appeared on my hand. Are you all right, Jaune? Yes, it looks worse than it feels. Does the process injure you? The professor asked, concerned. No, there's no damage to my aura or my body, but it still hurts a bit. Did it hurt the other times? No, the dust I absorbed was grade 1, and I think that's why I only felt a tingling sensation. Grade 2 now hurts, as if someone stepped on my hand. The pain must be proportional to the grade of the dust. Probably, but I didn't answer her and decided to focus on absorbing the crystals, which took about 15 minutes, and in the end, my hands were numb. I can take you to the infirmary if it's hurting too much. It's okay. I grumbled, regaining movement in my fingers. Since I didn't lose any aura, I'm already recovering. How can I go to the infirmary when I have so much to do? But now let's focus on having some fun. Be careful, Mr. Arc. Nah, I replied, ignoring the teacher's concern. Muitiverse Crafting System. What would you like to make? Magic, 5,009.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. Ashpin wants something highly technological. Maybe transportation? How about the X-Men's Blackbird? Muitiverse Crafting System. Which resource would you like to use? Magic, 5,009.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. Magic. Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 5,000 magic points. Magic, 5,009.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. Damn, that's expensive. Does it cost the same as Captain's shield? This doesn't make sense. Don't get me wrong, the Blackbird is awesome and iconic, but it's just a jet with capabilities comparable to those of my previous life. Why is it so expensive? Could the size influence the cost? MCS. Create Batmobile. Use magic. Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 3,500 magic points. Magic, 5,009.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. Interesting. Size really does affect creation, but the cost is quite close. Maybe because the Batmobile, despite being smaller and not flying, has more features than the Blackbird. A flying vehicle that's also small. MCS. Create Space Hog. Use magic. Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 50,000 magic points. Magic, 5,009.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. Holy sh**T. I shouted, unable to contain my indignation. So damn expensive. Why is the iconic Space Hog so pricey? Just because it's capable of spaceflight? And maybe crossing galaxies in a matter of minutes, something that's technically impossible according to the laws of physics, actually makes sense for something that insane to be so costly. I need a small, flying vehicle with limited features. MCS. Create BARC Speeder. Use magic. Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 2,000 magic points. Magic, 5,009.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. I'm starting to understand this thing. The Biker Advanced Recon Commando, BARC, Speeder is a classic speeder bike from the Star Wars universe, with a top speed of 520 kilometers per hour, which I imagine is faster than the Batmobile. It has fewer features, too. In fact, this thing flies, has weapons, and that's it. The Batmobile was at least armored like a tank, in addition to all the extra gadgets. I'll need to create a helmet as well later. Do I need one of those special jet pilot helmets? Due to air resistance and the pressure of traveling at over 500 kilometers per hour, breathing must be difficult. It's not like I can make my semblance give this speeder protective aura against air resistance. Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 2,500 magic points. Magic, 5,009.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. Convenient, isn't it? As soon as I mentally confirm, the golden mist appears in front of me, this time in a larger volume. In the name of Aum, what is this? Despite the shock from the teacher, I was grinning like an idiot. The speeder was beautiful, silver with red details. A true masterpiece from the era of the Clone Wars. This is a BARC speeder, a fast low-altitude planetary transport vehicle. Does this contraption fly? Yes, almost as fast as a jet. The still shocked teacher approaches to get a better look at my creation. John, this is basically 3 jet engines strapped to a metal frame. I know, isn't it awesome? I'm not the best at reading facial expressions, but I think the look Glinda gave me didn't seem to find it awesome. I'm confiscating this monstrosity. What? No, please. I'm not ashamed to admit that I nearly cried, almost begging. The teacher looked at me with pity and maybe a little disgust, but she sighed tiredly. I'll talk to the headmaster. We'll schedule a day for your test. Test. Yes, you'll need to prove to me and the headmaster that you're capable of piloting this vehicle. Mr. Jaune Arc, Glinda exclaimed indignantly. Do you even know how to pilot this death rocket?
Well,
I know where the accelerator and the brake are. I think I know where the altitude control is too. How high can this thing go? 10 meters. The sound of Glinda's facepalm was so loud it echoed through the arena. You have 1 month to learn how to use this monstrosity. If you don't prove your proficiency, the vehicle will be confiscated. But what about all the dust I spent on it? Are you talking about the dust that belongs to the school, which the headmaster provided to you just to test your semblance? Okay, I won't complain anymore. At least not in front of her. Can I move on to the next item? The teacher confirmed with a nod. How about a sword? That seems more sober than your previous creations, and Miss Nikos will be of great help in teaching you how to use it. MCS, create adamantium longsword, use magic. I take back what I said. That didn't seem sober to me. Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 1,000 magic points. Magic, 2,509.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. Only 1,000? The shield was 5,000, but it's virtually indestructible. I made the speeder with a magical aura. Could I make the sword magical too? Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 1,000 magic points. Magic, 2,509.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. Same cost? I think if I'm going to change something, I need to assign the qualities as well. In Pathfinder 1E, the best RPG in the world, magical weapons with +1 gained an increase in durability, resistance to corrosion, and a 20% improvement in their edge quality, in my games at least. MCS create +1 adamantium longsword, use magic. Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 2,000 magic points. Magic, 2,509.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. Now we're talking. MCS create +2 adamantium longsword, use magic. Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 3,000 magic points. Magic, 2,509.3 points. Aura, 21.2%.
I passed the point.
And what if I try the opposite effect of that? How about an adamantium longsword +1 flaming burst? Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 3,000 magic points. Magic, 2,509.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. Still 3,000. What if it's something a bit weaker than Flaming Burst? MCS, create adamantium longsword plus 1 flaming. Use magic. Muitiverse Crafting System. This will cost 2,500 magic points. Magic, 2,509.3 points. Aura, 21.2%. I couldn't help but burst into loud laughter as the golden mist began to materialize the sword in my hands. But my joy was cut short when I dropped the sword to the ground. Why did you do that? It's heavier than it looks. Glinda sighed, unable to hide her disappointment, picked up the sword from the ground, and swung it a few times in the air. I thought you were going to create something insane, but it looks like any one-handed longsword. Glinda commented, examining the sword closely. A sword of this size made of steel weighs around 1.5 kilograms. Yours, on the other hand, seems to weigh 3 times more than that, a difference bigger than between steel and gold, just so you have an idea.
My arms ache just thinking about it.
In addition to training with my partner, I need to hit the gym. A wise decision. If you're interested, I can arrange for a personal trainer specialized in individuals with aura. That sounds expensive. It won't cost you or beacon anything. Then I'm in. The beast will be unleashed. What makes this sword so special? Asked Professor Goodwitch, handing me back the sword. I assume the weight is an indicator of a special material. I replied with a smile and lifted the sword in a quick motion above my head, pointing the sword dramatically towards the sky. Or at least, that's what I would have liked to do, but I ended up lifting it slowly and awkwardly due to the weight I wasn't used to. It seems that way, doesn't it? But if I say the activation word, flame on. Glinda stepped back from the sword, whose blade was now covered in flames. Impressive. How are you applying dust to create this effect? Or are you using another substance to fuel the flames? Magic. I commented, as if it were no big deal. What did you say? Glinda asked incredulously. The sword is magical, baby. The professor's eyes widened. Magic was extremely rare in Remnant, and it was already extraordinary for me to be a male magic user, but it was insane for me to be a creator of magical items.
Jaune.
I don't think you understand what you just did. I created a cool sword. This sword must be the first magical item created in all of Remnant in the last 1,000 years. Actually, this is the second magical item created in all of Remnant in the last 1,000 years. What was the first? Glinda asked indignantly. The motorcycle is also magical. And once again, a facepalm echoed through the arena. I want a raise. You deserve it. Shut up.
I hope you enjoyed my work. If you'd like more, check out the links in the video description. Goodbye for now.